This podcast is brought to you by Hoare Chartered Accountants. Hoare Chartered Accountants are based in Galway City and are a leading provider of audit, accountancy and taxation services. For more information, visit hoarecharteredaccountants.ie. Now you're welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. It's job done for Galway in New York. They ran out winners in the end. 328 to 20 points. A great battle put up by New York in that opening period. Galway led 112 to 12 at the interval, but a strong finish in that second half sees Galway advance into the Connacht semi-final, where they will play Roscommon on the 20th of April Sunday. And that game looks likely at the minute to be in Pearse Stadium at 4 o'clock. So it'll be Galway versus Roscommon, and the winners will play Mayo or Leitrim in the Connacht final. And job done for Galway. It's a tough one going over there. You never know what's going to happen, but they'll just be happy to get out of there and get into the next round of the Connacht Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the word or the phrase everyone is using since the result is job done, and I think particularly the management will be just, I won't say relieved, but they'll I think everyone going knows the team traveling is going to win it. When you're talking especially with the likes of Galway, Mayo, or Roscommon, maybe poor old Leitrim didn't do so well a few years back, but definitely the likes of Galway, you'd go with huge confidence. To beat New York. It's get the job done. A bit of bonding, I'm sure, involved as well, and get out of there, I suppose, without any significant injuries, which we hope they have done. And I think in terms of Galway, definitely had a challenge in the first half, which was no harm. I think it brought them to life, certainly in the second half. But we got to use a couple of additional players, maybe that didn't see an awful lot of league time, so it was good for them to get that bit of championship experience. And I suppose everything about the whole event it's a bit of a novelty. It's a bit of a in some ways it feels a little bit like an exhibition game. You have probably 6,000 people packed into that small arena there, and it's a bit of a party vibe. So there is a game of football going on at the end of the day. So I think Galway went about it professionally in the end and got what they wanted out of it. So yeah, job done.
With that, Sean, we've seen a lot of clubs get to travel over there, obviously, at the weekend. And in fairness, a great travelling Galway sport headed over for it and looked like they had a great weekend. Now, I'd say there's a few people listening to this podcast who might be on the sore side, maybe coming home.
Oh, it is, like, we have to understand as well, it's 10 years since Galway went over due to COVID. So I think it was 2015, the last time the Galway team was over there. So it's a celebration, and people have it in their calendar, maybe the year before, knowing that Galway are going over. And it seems to be more supporters traveling over there than actually from the New York side, or you might as well say like the East Coast of America that go and watch the match. But it's a scenario where it's a fundraising thing. You see online and the social media, there's a lot of fundraising done on that scenario. But also it's a great opportunity for the New York County Board themselves, because of this is the only game they had. They're not like London. They put a lot of work in it, especially this year. And I'm actually, in all fairness, I was pretty impressed by Ronan McKinley's team, how he has set them up. They're probably not looking at the Galway game, but I can see they'll be looking at probably the next game in what's that cup again afterwards?
Charlton Cup.
Yeah, the Charlton Cup. So it's kind of a scenario they rattled Galway in the first half. But going to your question, it's a great social thing for Galway supporters to go over there, take in New York, take in the football side, the social thing. I was being very lucky to have seen both sides as a selector and a player, and being there many a time. And it's a great place to go to, a great social thing. It's a great GA thing, because you meet people you haven't seen in a while. You meet people in your own county and clubs and all that stuff. And it's a nice way. But for Pádraic, I suppose it's and Enda kind of hit on it there. It's a scenario where get over there, get the job done, team bonding. Now, the bit worst thing that came out of there is John Maher, which is I suppose is a scare for the Galway team, where he's such a force for us. And Pádraic came out afterwards saying, he's an all-star midfielder, and we need him, and we're going to especially need him in the next game against Roscommon. So that'll be worrying. So hopefully now things won't be too bad. We saw Clean O'Curry there, looks like himself, and Johnny Heaney had a clash in training. That's why those two weren't there as well. So there'd be kind of question marks there. Shane Welch, we didn't see either. We didn't see Damien Comer. So Pádraic it was an opportunity to get players out there. That maybe a bit of thing we know, like I suppose Brian Mannion, made his debut from Two Stars, top scorer last year league, probably, get a few minutes under himself there. He was a top scorer in the championship there last year. So it's really a scenario where, like, Matthew Tierney midfield was outstanding, but it seems to be a scenario where Matthew Tierney plays outstanding anytime we don't see Shea Welch or Damien Comer on the field. So it'd be great to see them all playing well on some day, but it's the way it really is, get out of Gaelic Park without any injuries, come back to training ready. But there's no recovery, where before we used to have 3 or 4 weeks. There's no recovery now. It's straight into it again. So there wouldn't have been much socialising there. Light enough, I'd say, really, because of injuries, and get on the plane and get home again.
Yeah, even the Galway team travelled home Monday, so they only really had the Sunday night there, but they obviously got to do a few things before the game and the lead up. And a point Sean touches on, and it's the most concerning thing that came out of the New York game. I said it to you off air about John Mayer. I really feel he's the one player that this Galway team can't afford to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could see it from the start. He was on a lot of ball very early in that game, and a huge worry. Particularly when you're playing in these synthetic pitches. I know it can happen on any ground, but straight away you're thinking, oh, did he catch his ankle in that ground? But worry straight away when you see him down and not getting up as quick. Sean touched on it, what a driving force he is, and it really has been for the last number of years for Galway. The one player that I think we just cannot do without in the middle of the field. Galway just don't really have a settled midfield pair. If you want, somebody else with them that we can, just rely on, that's the pairing week in, week out. I know Paul Conroy obviously plays there quite a bit over the years, but maybe Paul's role is changing slightly now, and I think they would have preferred not to have to bring Paul on the last day if they could have afforded to give him a break as well. But yeah, it is a worry. We'd hope that maybe the medical crew have him back in action this week again. But I think it's probably an area that might concern Galway a little bit, is the middle of the field. New York for a good part of it dominated, not just the winning it clean in the air, but particularly around the breaks as well. They got a lot of breaking ball the last day, and that's where they really showed they were up for it. And Roscommon will probably look at that and target, or look to try and target that aspect of Galway's play. They've that Keith Doyle in the middle of the field in Roscommon, and he'll be a huge point of attack for Roscommon's kickouts for sure, I'd imagine. But it's the breaking ball is what's a huge part of the new game now again, and that's where I think Galway need to probably just really focus on, because we struggled with that, I think, certainly in the first.
Just on that, Enda, do you think that's an area maybe where teams are going after Galway? Because last year the platform was kick it long, and we won a high percentage of our long kickouts. But even if you go back to the last league game against Kerry as well, they dominated us on the breaking ball. It seems to be that teams maybe don't want to compete with us in the air, but they'll go for the breaks. And in the last 2 games in particular, maybe that breaking ball, as you mentioned, is an area we have struggled.
Yeah, I think so, and it's not. Look, it's one of the hardest things. It's very hard to coach how to win a breaking ball. You nearly have to have a bit of a dog in you to want to go and win it. It's a difficult one, to get a team to really focus on, because Galway, yeah, want to win the clean ball, but like you even seen when Cian Darcy came in straight away, the hand signals were up. He was the target. But that's not going to work every time. It will work certainly the first time they tried it, but Roscommon will be well aware to that. So it's something, kick out options might need to change a little bit. We don't always have to go long. I certainly, looking at Kerry, for example, even the league final, they found good ways of getting. I think it's Gavin White on the ball from short kickouts, and getting it to your good ball players. You can get a good short kick out away and work some of those. But yeah, it's the one area that I just have a little bit of concern, is that kind of scrap around the middle of the field.
Overall, Sean, what did you make of the performance on Sunday? First half, at stages, it wasn't as comfortable as we thought it'd be, like only going in 112 to 12 ahead at the break.
Listen, I suppose for like your listeners and supporters, New York Gaelic Park is a strange thing. Like, I mean, it wasn't warm over there. Usually you go over there, it could be 25 to 30 degrees heat. It was actually cold over this time. But regarding the scenario where it's like how they put it, it's kind of a celebration atmosphere. It's not like actually your first round championship playing Leitrim or someone like that. It's kind of it's a scenario. You're going over there. It's nothing natural. You're going over by flights. There's fundraising, the hotel. It's you're out of your own comfort zone. So really, he started. I think he started was it 8 or 9, 8? I think he started of the All-Ireland starting team. So Park knew what was ahead of him. Like, I mean, he needed to win this game. He thought he probably, in all fairness, that he'd be more ahead. Like, where was it 112 to 12 at halftime, which is against this New York team who, like, we're just I just got to pick up players. Like, in all fairness, like the Robson guy, like, outstanding. Like, you know what I mean? Kildare will be looking back him. You know what I mean? So who else was there? Hunt, O'D, played for Clare. Like, I mean, I think your man Hunt, wasn't he? Transferred to Salthill, one of Sigerson. These are guys.
Yeah.
Am I correct there? Am I?
Yeah, Salthill, he would have played with
And he
Salthill.
would have played in UIG, like in something county. These are guys who know Galway, good footballers. If they come back to Ireland, would be kind of making competition for the county panel. So they've been together for a good while. They know Gaelic Park, and it is. Nearly said there, like, I mean, it's a 4G, 20,000 lines all over the place. You don't know which is which. It's red, green, blue. It's played, everything sports played on it. And it runs quick. And again, we've had a bad weather, soft pitches up to now. So really, the biggest thing now for Porrick is actually Maher. That's the thing about it. Listen, the lads got chances. Like, I look at one there now, probably did well. Liam O'Connell came on there. Fitzbiddle scored 2 points. He had a good game coming on. But regarding, you cannot look into this New York game who did well or who didn't do well, because really it's all about coming out uninjured. As you said, get on the plane again. So if they left Monday, they would have been all of a sudden, I mean, they would have got up early. There wouldn't be much drinking. It's straight back into normalities, back into football mode again. But for him, you see, like, I suppose Conor Flaherty played well in goal. It's good to see him there. I think he's a great addition there. You know what I mean? Sean Kelly, centre at back. Maybe we found his place there regarding, you know what I mean, that's his ideal there. Thompson, I think, is a great find. I think he's a great footballer and just needs a bit more kind of time on the ball. You know what I mean? Like that. We saw Brian Mannion coming on. Again, probably you can see the nerves first game, stuff like that. Finnerty does what he does, you know what I mean? Finneal Lie, so, and then the guys coming on, like as we said to you, Avor, Egan as well, for Malloy, Darcy. The thing about for me is for Galway is I'm still worried after the Kerry game. And it being the scenario where we had an opportunity to relegate Kerry, and where maybe we should have put the foot down on the neck that time and the teeth out. And then all of a sudden you see Kerry go on then. And in all fairness, they turned us over. Really, they did turn us over. We never looked, even though we came close, and we never looked like winning it. And then you see Kerry go on and walk a league final. And we know Porrick wanted to win the league final. That was the thing. We know that we look at Jim McGuinness and Donegal, he took the foot off the pedal at the end. We didn't. We were kind of given a bit of a lesson. So it does worry me in the scenario where this is. Enda talked about in midfield, and he's correct. We don't have a partnership. Now, all the talk is about Cook coming back. Is he back? Now, I don't know officially, is he back? He is supposed to be back.
Well, Porrick confirmed it after the game, yeah.
Well, he's good. So I love to see him in midfield with John Maher, but I think Matthew Tierney's a good addition there too. So him in there, and then when you have, like, I don't want to say it because I've said it before, Paul Conroy starting, and I think he's a great impact sub. But then we see, do we need him? But I still think he's a great guy to come off with his experience, especially with the new kicking game. But we do have a problem winning breaks. We do have a problem with these new rules. I don't think they suit us. And it's an odd thing to say. I don't think either we're not coached up enough for this game regarding the breaks, the different options, the kickouts and all that stuff. So maybe we need to work on it, but we don't. The problem is we do not have the time to catch up. Like, I was looking at the games on the weekend, and you looked at Mayo and Sligo. Sligo seemed to be up there, and they give Mayo a bit of a rattle. Then you looked at Donegal, absolutely animal. Then you like, so stuff like that, like. It's a game I worry about, and now Porrick will be worried about it, because we need these guys. We cannot afford to play like we played against New York. We cannot afford to play like Kerry. If we do, we will not win, and that's a problem.
One of the bright sparks, though, you mentioned him, Sean. Matthew Thompson's performance, 3 points. And he's something different because we probably have been maybe crying out for this kind of scoring forward in the half forward line, and that's something Thompson gives you.
He does. He's a class act, natural talent. Like and PG has to find players like this every year, and he too. We need competition, and it's showing now. With like, I worry about Damien Comer, his how would I say, his fitness in the snare of injuries prone, and Shane Welch with the injury he has the same way like that. And the problem is we always need to have a plan B. Kerry has a plan B. See the games boys come out. We don't seem to have a plan B. Like we lose players, and you're moving kind of Paul and Peter moving around the players and all that stuff, like Matthew Tierney's into midfield. If something goes wrong, then so it's kind of a scenario where we're not settled. Like I think the backs are well settled. We good kind of a backup in the defence. I'm happy enough there with good players. We've shown that against Kerry. But again, the scenario where midfield and the forwards, we need more kind of competition in the scenario what's going there. And when you see guys on the sideline with crutches and stuff like that, it kind of worries you a bit. But then again, it's a scenario where there is no recovery anymore. It's not like when myself and Enda were playing. There was nearly a month between every match. If you get a dead leg or something small, you're out. You're missing the next round. And we're looking, as we said, we're looking at Roscommon next. We're looking at, if we're successful, we're looking at probably Mayo next. And then you're into this thing. There's no recovery. It's all over in July. So this is the problem here. So if you get injured and you don't have the backup panel, you're in trouble. And that's where you look at Tyrone. You're looking at Donegal, the Dubs. You're looking at Kerry. They do have the backup panel. Now we have the players, but this is where they're going to be found out if they don't get game time like we showed against New York. And it's good to see. That's where we're talking about Thompson. I think was a great addition, and he showed how good he is.
And do you think it was the correct decision not to risk a Dylan McHugh, a John Daly, a Damien Comer, a Shane Walsh, like these players? You could get the sense weren't going to be risked on an AstroTurf like that at the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know the extent of any of those guys' injuries, but obviously there were enough for them not to be risked. And I think, look, like I said at the start, Galway were going out there, really expecting to win this with whatever way they arranged the team, whatever 15 they put out there, you would still expect Galway to have enough to beat New York. So I think they could afford to just not risk those guys. They have. These guys are well managed and well monitored and maintained in training, and the medical staff that are minding them. So good advice probably, and a good call, I think, not to risk them. There was just no need. But it'll be interesting now. I think everyone will be looking for the starting 15. I know you can't go by the team sheet that goes out with day or two beforehand, but when we're looking at that starting 15 lining out against Roscommon, it'll be super interesting just to see who exactly is in that, particularly in that forward line. And Roscommon will have got nothing out of watching Galway the last day. I think bar maybe the middle of the field and what might or might not happen there. But I suppose Roscommon can't really plan either. They don't know who's going to be there. So we're all maybe a little bit in the dark. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it was a safer option just not to risk. There was no need. And whatever about the safety, it was the opportunity that was given to other guys as well, which was absolutely taken by Matthew Thompson, who Sean talked about there, and is a super talent. And really, he obviously got the message at halftime because he came firing into that game in the second half and really kind of pushed Galway straight on the attack. Once that second half started, and the likes of Brian Mannion as well, who got a little bit of league time, has been kind of in and out of maybe the Galway setup, I think, or league teams over the while. So it was great to see him. I think he was probably just unlucky. He's very much a left-sided player. He can't really play on that side because you have Rob Finnerty the other side. So he's a little bit restricted in probably what he could contribute just from his position on the field, being a natural left footer. And I suppose that's the thing. Galway have quite a number of left footers in that team the last day. It can be a good and a bad thing. But yeah, it's look at, don't risk the guys. We didn't have to. We got through it. We saw a few good guys. Again, another guy I think who I thought performed well was the likes of Keane Hernan. I think it was great to see him get a full game. And really showed what he can probably do more so in attack maybe than in defence. I think and that's I think for Galway would be key, running at Roscommon and going like when Matthew Tierney went at them, when Keane Hernan went at them, even Johnny McGrath near the end there on Sunday. run at teams. You know, we have a lot of space now up front. If we can beat the first man, we go is loads of pace and loads of ability on the ball to really hurt the likes of Roscommon. So yeah, I think we'll all be looking forward to that team sheet just to see who's going to line out.
Does Matthew Thompson have to start against Roscommon now, do you feel?
Personally, I think he does. Personally, I think it does because the reason being is, and we all players know this, when you have your confidence is up and you're feeling it, you mean you need to keep playing, like, you know. That's what I think is the worst thing that happened now to Matthew Thompson is actually to go to the bench, because that scenario, like, you know what I mean, I'd be sooner starting him now than maybe other players like that and bringing them on. But it's kind of a scenario where it's all about confidence, and especially a young player like that, he just wants to play, and I mean, he showed it. He took that opportunity in New York to go for it, and you know what I mean, fair dues to him. But he's been doing it through the league, and any chance he got, he's good. So I rate him highly, and I think Porrick rates him highly, and it's shown it there with his 3 points he got, like, against New York. And it's kind of a scenario. Listen, that be me, but as Enda pointed out many times there, you can't. We'll be looking for that sheep, but something tells me the sheep will not match what togs out again in Tuam next week, like in 2 weeks' time.
It's interesting in one sense, then, because we had Matthew Thompson and Daniel O'Flaherty play on the wings at the weekend. I suppose throughout the league, we've seen Matthew Tierney and Keane Darcy play there, and Killian McDade. It's a different dynamic when you have two players like O'Flaherty and Thompson then on the wings.
Yeah, and like, I suppose, look, they're all great options. Any of those players you name, you know, a lot of counties would love to have those options to have. But I suppose what all of those guys give you is real drive and real, like I said, ability to break a tackle and make up the ground into space. Every one of them is a good ball player. Every one of them can kick a score. So it's what I don't know how to nearly put it, but what kind of forward line we want to line out. We talked about Matthew there. You know, he's not given any reason why they shouldn't start him. You know, I think the last day he gave every reason why he should be on that team sheet the next day. So look at it. It's going to be interesting. Like I say, not to labour the point, but at least there's options, and there's really good options. But for me, I think we do need more out of our inside forward line. I think we need more scores, number one. I think we got 5 from play, I think. I think Brian got 1, Finian got 1, and Robert got 3. And like, it was late enough in the first half, I think, well into the first half when Robert got his first from play. So I think we need to be a little bit more clinical inside with a full forward line. I think the likes of, if Damien Comer's there, he's a huge danger man and a huge target man. He would take a lot of attention away from the other 2 guys in there with them. So I think we probably just need a little bit more firepower in our inside line.
With this then, Sean, like, it's interesting with the John Mayer injury, because we've seen players held back. If John Mayer's a doubt, he mightn't be risk either, because there is an All-Ireland series to come.
Listen, anyone with a slight injury, like Enda would tell you there, like, anyone with a slight injury, there's any doubt, if you go into a game at this level 50-60%, you're going to be caught. Simple as that. Like, you know, if he's 90%, why would you start him? You're better off bringing him on the last 20 minutes where the rest of the players come down to that level of 90%. You can't afford it anymore, because we've seen that in the last couple of years, especially the players we're talking about, like Damien Comer. They're coming on, they're coming out from injuries, and they're only making it worse. So that's why you need the big panel here, and that's what we're talking about. Also, like, and following up what Enda said there, like, I mean, it's kind of I agree with you. I think Galway, I think we're like a team with a rubber band at our back. We're being held back. I'd love to see them release the ball quicker into the full forward line. I find we're great on the break, and then we come to the 65, and it's kind of like, okay, there's a wall. We need to go side to side, side to side, side to side. Where you look at Kerry, you look at the teams are playing well, Donegal, they can mix it all. They can mix the running game straight through the heart of it, like Kerry did us on that left wing. You can also do the high ball in. You also need to kind of release it. Seeing Roscommon, and they're a bit kind of, they've done a bit of it. They do love the fast ball. I saw them when they played Cork down there in Cork Arena, and they absolutely made hay playing a quick fast ball. You know what I mean? Like that. Didn't give a chance for the defense to fall back. I would see that as a problem here, because if you look, that New York full forward line did a bit of damage in, so, you know, that kind of way there. Now, again, because the reason I'm saying that it was a quick ball in that did it, like, and the boys did turns, and like your man, what's his name, Robson, like Jack Robson, what a class act, like, in all fairness. So again, we're coming up against a team like them, like it was common, like you can name them all, the players they have. They're good forwards, and they're coming to Galway knowing that they have a good chance here of beating Galway. So regarding injuries, Porrick knows he can't take a chance on all these players. Again, it's easy for us to talk about players, but we don't know what's going on behind the doors in Loch George and in Tuam. Are players injured? Are they not going well in the A versus B games and stuff like that? So really, we're only going on the latter games we see. And Galway aren't playing well in the latter games we see. The last 2 games, we haven't been great. But again, it's a game that's ahead. And I know Porrick's been looking at this game against Roscommon. He could never say it out in the media, but that was his goal, especially after the Kerry game. He knew we weren't going to make a league final. That was the game, and just get over New York. And John Maher, listen, we will need him in the bigger game after Roscommon. Trust me that. So unless he's 100%, I cannot see Porrick or the medical team testing it, because there's no point. Because if he makes it worse, he's gone.
There is a thing though, and like we need to start getting our strongest team on the pitch, because there probably is, even for the management, to get a consistent starting 15 here and get more familiar with all these players on the pitch at the one time.
Yeah, and when I saw the team for New York, I was kind of a little bit. This is very experimental. Nearly, it was like this doesn't seem right. And then of course I was like, this isn't even the start. And we've done that quite a lot, where we're naming teams that don't look anything like what actually takes the field. And I think we talked at the start, getting a set in midfield is usually important. John Maher needs, and let's say if John Maher is there, he needs that partner. To build a kind of relationship with. It might be late trying to do that now, but I think it needs to be more settled anyway, certainly around the middle. But I suppose let's say if we work from the defence out, it's good to see Jack Glynn back for a start. I think that could be a settled full back line now, with Jack, Sean and Johnny McGrath. I think Johnny McGrath, he had some challenges with Jack Robinson the last day. But Johnny is always the go-to man to mark the best player on the other opposition. So I think it's good that Jack is back there, another really good tight man marker. He might take some of that pressure off, particularly against Roscommon, where you have Ben O'Carroll and Enda Smith might be in there. He started in the corner last against London. So we need that the back line settled for sure, and I think we're probably getting closer to that. Hopefully we'll see Dylan McHugh back as well. For Roscommon or whatever.
Kearns as well there, so he's availability there. So you've good cover there.
Good cover, yeah. But we need it settled. To go to your question, and New York maybe obviously wasn't the day to do that, but I think from here on we need to start seeing a little bit more structure to our teams, as to what personnel we're using. I think experiments are over now at this stage. But it's getting guys back that are fit. We touched on it there. We don't really know what the injury situation actually is. So let's see what comes out against Roscommon.
Sure, and yeah, as we mentioned, Liam Silk, John Daly didn't play there either at the weekend. Keane Hernan puts his hand up. From performances wise, Hernan is obviously one player who's put his hand up. Sean, we've mentioned Matthew Thompson's put his hand up, but Keane Hernan's probably the other big positive, even the way he came through there at the end, getting the goal.
Oh yeah, listen, you had a great game, and this is about like, and this is what I love when you see players when we haven't seen as much as them we want to see, and when they get the opportunity and they put their hand up and they take it, and that's what it's all about. And it's not easy, and especially I'm going to go back, and it's the most unnatural situation set up playing in New York. Like at the end of the day, it's still a social thing. Now, it was different our time. We could go out there with 20 pints drank in our stomach the night before and you still beat New York. But New York are a serious team now at the moment. Anytime the media was over there, they were training hard. They used to have this game, but now with the Tailteann Cup, this was a warm-up game for them. Simple as that. And I tell you, if they get a weaker team, they will actually do damage against them. They can hurt them like that. If that team goes over to Ireland and plays at that level, they could do, they could get a scalp nice and handy. So, but
someone who can strike the ball like Frank O'Reilly could.
Well, that's what it is like. So that's what it's about. Like, so it's on their day. They could still get a scalp somewhere. A weak Division 4 team. I won't name them. I tell you, they'll struggle against that New York team on the day. But as you go back to your question, it's all about getting Porrick needs, and I don't want to say it, we've been the bridesmaid now. We're kind of turning into a bit of a Mayo, and I hate saying that regarding getting to finals and losing, and it's not a great kind of comment he's thrown around there. We kind of need now settled. We need to be like these guys, and it's probably, we left the worst one behind us last year against our man. It's still hurting, and it will hurt, and it's going to be harder this year. But we have the players, we have the talent, and please God, that the way I look at it is that if we can keep injury free and the guys that we were missing there on the weekend and come back and we have a full panel, we can get thereabouts. But it's all about just doing the action, and we'll know now in 2 weeks' time against Roscommon where we're really at, because we're playing a team that was in Division 2 final, played well in the league. That Division 2 was very competitive. It was very competitive. There was good teams there. So for Roscommon to come out of there, they know their tails are up. They did good enough there, going over to London, did the job, came back again. They're up for this game. So Porrick knows it better than anybody. He's been around for a while as a player and a manager now, so he knows the system now. It's all down to now Mickey Graham now to get these guys better coached. And I'm not finding fault with Mickey in this and saying that, but I just think we're not to the level of the better teams yet with these new rules. So we don't have much time to get there regarding, as Enda was when we were talking about breaks, systems, breaking through the middle. I think we need to show a bit more choice. I suppose that's the thing about it. And again, when you're losing players and changing players and injury, it's not easy because you're working on a system with certain players, and then if that player isn't available, because you can see when Shane Welch's are playing, it's a different style. When he's not there, it's a different style. When Comer's there by himself, it was a long ball in. So I find that we're kind of playing to a system based on who's available, which sometimes is all right to change, but sometimes isn't great when you're playing with the other players, so if you're changing systems. So it's something we're working on, it looks like, but hopefully we'll get it mastered by the time the next week and a half anyway.
And they can go and do much in this week and a half now.
I think like load wise, they're not going to be doing a whole lot on the pitch. It's like, even as you say, they travel back Tuesday, Monday. They probably maybe trained last night. I'm sure it wouldn't have been a hectic session. I'd imagine this weekend coming, they'll probably have a Saturday and a Sunday get together. I think it's it'll be a lot of walkthroughs. It'll be a lot of, targeting some of the areas that, maybe even we didn't see, that the guys saw, the management saw, that they need to kind of tweak or refocus on. So yeah, I think load-wise, there'll be very little done. But I think a lot of it now is getting the minds, they can actually focus now 100% on Roscommon. So that's probably a little bit of a comfort in that there's no other distraction. There's no flights, there's no hassle of logistics, traveling and all that. It's focus on Roscommon, and put whatever game plan that suits the 15 that take the field into action. So I think, yeah, it'll be very much a kind of a get the mind right more than the body right, for 2 weeks time.
With this as well, obviously Roscommon won there to weekend against London now, but Galway, like, this is obviously a big challenge against Roscommon. Do you still see this as a big step winning the Connacht Championship this year? Because there is talks from various outlets that maybe the provincials don't matter as much with the All-Ireland series and 3 getting out of the group. Do you still see this as an important step for Galway this year to win the Connacht title?
It's very funny now. I don't rate the Connacht medal anymore because of Galway. It's an All-Ireland or nothing. But it's funny, after what happened against Kerry, I think this Connacht is more important than it ever was, especially this year. I think we need to keep a winning thing going. To lose to Roscommon would be a disaster at this stage, going through a kind of a backdoor system, some of that. I think we need to win a Connacht this year, and I very rarely said that in the last couple of years. With Galway, it's all about the All-Ireland. But I think this team, I don't want to say it now disrespectful, kind of a bit fragile in the scenario where, because of the last 2 All-Irelands and scenario where that, I think we need to keep winning and keep that mentality going. I think a Connacht medal this year and a Connacht title to this team, because we know Roscommon really want to win a Connacht. McStay and Mayo really wants to win a Connacht, simple as that. So when every team is up for it to win it, because usually you'd see every team would say it's the All-Ireland. I think no more than ever, I think Galway need to win an All-Ireland this year. And being in the scenario where that group system has changed. The new rules are changed, and every game you get and every kind of system you're winning with, it's more important because this is a new style. It's a new system with these new rules. So it's a new Connacht title. That's why I look at it. So I think it's very important Galway to win it. And it's strange saying because for the last couple of years, I'd saying it doesn't mean anything. It's all about All Ireland. I think the Connacht's very important because it's a stepping stone to the All Ireland.
Yeah, it does feel important too, and obviously Galway looking to go for 4 in a row this year as well in Connacht. Do you still see it as an important step as well, Enda?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything Sean said there. It's you know, it's a provincial championship. It's a trophy. It's you know, it is what it is. You know, it's you know, people will say it's devalued. There's no county that's entering the provincial competition who are going to say it doesn't really matter if we don't win it. They all want to win it. You know, everyone would point to Donegal taking their foot off the gas for the league because they want to win the provincial championship. And Galway, I don't think, could be any different. They will want to win. You know, they came out honestly and said they wanted to win the league, and that was fair. And I thought they were 100% right in saying that. Go for it. The other teams were kind of, we do and we don't. We'll see how we go. Galway were, you know, they said they wanted to go and do it, and I think that's the right way to approach sport and be honest to say, yeah, we want this. And I think if you ask the Galway management or a Galway player, they will absolutely say we want this because it's, and Sean said it 100% there, it's keep the winning momentum. And that's where Galway need to be. We need to be, you know, winning games now, one after another, getting our team settled, getting Killian McDade going again, getting John Daly back or whoever, you know, Shane, Damien, all of these guys, Liam Silk, and getting that momentum. And nothing gives you momentum like winning. So Connacht title for sure is still worth it. And you know, they'll all want a Connacht medal. Simple as. Yeah.
But you're right there. There's a record here as well for Connacht titles, previous in a row. But I know if you tell Park, would he rather 10 in a row at the All Ireland? You know, always go, the answer is good with the All Ireland. And that's it now at this stage. I think we have such an experienced, settled team in the scenario where experience are compared to every other team. We're probably there now, the most experienced, really, if you think about it, with all the how far we've gone the last 4 or 5 years. So, but we've a serious competition ahead of us, big time, and that's the thing about it. We don't have an easy route regarding a semi-final. To get to this kind of final, we have to beat, you know what I mean, the second best team to my eyes in Connacht, like, and Mayo struggle themselves against, you saw yourself against Sligo. Sligo really put it up to them, like, you know, so it won't be easy, and we're going to have to play some serious good football with these new rules to win the title.
This game being in Pearse Stadium, obviously, and as I said, likely Sunday week, 4 o'clock. It's maybe a different one, and Pearse Stadium. Obviously, we have great memories there last year, but this we're hoping obviously it'll be good weather and it'll be like the weather we had over the weekend. But it's likely with Pearse Stadium that we're not going to get that.
No, you don't have to check the farming forecast to to wonder what the weather is going to be like. You wouldn't be checking it in Salt Hill anyway. But yeah, look, it's probably going to be wind in one in there, and it's like a wind tunnel up there some days. Which, you know, it's such a lovely surface and a lovely ground. It's just you know, the wind can just ruin games. But look, that's the same for both teams. It's a challenge. It's one that, you know, you can't influence it. You can't influence the ref. There's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta play with it. Look at it. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the day holds. But you know, it'll all be about getting a good start. Even if, you know, Galway say did have a good wind, it's using it to the maximum. You know, those 2 pointers with the wind especially are hugely valuable now. It's probably I think one of the bigger changes in these new rules, because you can be out of sight fairly quickly. And you know, Galway have shown, particularly in Pearse Stadium, that we're able to kick those 2 pointers. But that's right, having the right personnel on the pitch, and I suppose for some of them having the bravery maybe to go for them as well. And not, you know, take the shackles off and just go for it. And I think that's what's going to come down to. It's going to come down to having a bit of courage, excuse me, because, you know, Roscommon would come with tons of that, and, you know, the side of a Galway jersey, particularly in Galway in Pearse Stadium, they're really going to be going for it. So it's take the shackles off, as they say, and really have a cut at it, because it's really going to be a tough one, regardless of weather. It's going to be a tough game.
Well, it's funny, India, you go there, we can talk about Pearse Stadium and the weather, but it's the same all the time for us as Galway players and supporters. And it's something people keep saying, but I say we're not probably embracing it enough, because it's an advantage when you're training there all the time, regarding, you know what's going to be. We know how to play against the wind, and we know how to play with the wind. And it's something I think we always, and I think Pádraig does use that. We use it, because no team likes to go into Pearse Stadium, especially the Connacht teams, when they know it's going to be windy, because they don't like it. But it's something we know it's ahead of us. And I find that we've embraced it a lot lately, especially with the new rules start of the league. We embraced the wind, we embraced Pearse Stadium. Now, the surface wasn't great there, because when the lights came in, it was a soft enough sand-based, but on that scenario. So I don't know what it's like now, but I know it'll be probably in top knit there when we get for the next, a week Sunday. But I always say we don't use it enough as an advantage, because we know the wind and how it plays, and that scenario where it's a game of two halves in Pearse Stadium all the time. So it's something I think we should embrace more. And other teams hate coming there because of it, because used to get pitches like that all the time. Like if it's only in Sligo, used to get windy up there, used to hate there. But they love playing up there because they're used to it. And that's the thing we should get used to it.
On the championship 15, lads, if we were to have a cut at it ourselves this evening,
Yes.
I'll come to the positions each and we can give our views here. But at this stage, are we probably all along the lines that Conor Gleeson's going to be the goalkeeper for championship?
I wouldn't, personally myself, I wouldn't think so. I think, geez, I don't know. I think Flaherty is put his hand up, and I think with the new rules and the movement, I think he's more adaptable for the rules. That's what I look at it. If it was the old rules, yes. So I'm going to put my hand out there. I'd be kind of more looking at Flaherty at this moment in time, myself personally.
Enda the cast and vote.
I'd kind of go with the other Connor, to be honest. Because the simple reason is, I think the management have shown so much faith in him over the last number of years. I just don't see it changing. I don't see it changing now. And partly, and like Connor is an outstanding goalkeeper. Connor Party, an outstanding goalkeeper. I think he may have had an advantage when the rules were where we had to keep the three back. But now, where the goalie can't go forward as much now, because you still have to drop one player back. So that +1 that you would have had with the goalie going forward probably kind of took away from him a little bit when they changed that 4-V at the back. And I think he may have lost out a little bit there, because I think he would have been better at that. But no, I think just going on team selection over the last 5 years or so, I think it'll be Conor Gleeson.
The full back line then. My own full back line would be Johnny McGrath, obviously 2, Sean Fitzgerald 3, and I think Liam Silk will go back into corner, particularly now as one of the 3 to go man marking. How would you see it, Sean?
I'd mirror that now, in all fairness. I think that's the way it's going to look. Like Silkies is such a man marker, and it's coming down to that. It really is, man. Your full back line are the glue guys. They have to be sticking hard, moving. So to me, you're right. McGrath, Fitzgerald, and Silk would be that now. But with Glenn, seriously, he's a guy that, again, we're talking in Sean Fitzgerald. You got some good adaptation substitutions that can come in there. But I would agree with that one, that line myself.
How do you see it, Enda?
Yeah, if Liam Silk is fit, yeah, I'd see that as a full back line. But yeah, there's the option of Jack Lynn, which is a huge option. Either way, whether it's a Jack Lynn or a Liam Silk, that's a huge cover.
How would you see the half back line then, Enda?
I think it's a tough one, to be honest. I see Sean Kelly holding 6 at the moment. I see Keane Hernan. The other side, then, I think if Dylan McHugh is fit, Dylan McHugh starts. If not, Kieran Malloy starts.
Would you, if we haven't seen obviously John that much yet, but do you think if he gets back to full fitness, does he come back into
Absolutely,
the
absolutely, and that's such a headache, a good headache to have if like John hasn't played any of the last few league games. I think if John was fit, absolutely, because this game is made for him with the way John can play ball forward. I think it absolutely is perfect for him. Yeah, if John is fit, absolutely, but I don't see signs of him. Given with the way the league has been, he hasn't been on the bench for those. So again, like it's kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. We don't know what the injury situations really are, so we're kind of just going kind of assumptions really. But I think the half-back line, the start of the last day, would probably start the next day. If Dylan McHugh is fit, I would expect him to be in.
How do you see the half-back line then, Sean?
Yeah, it's same idea. Like, I mean, again, Park seems to like Sean Fitzgerald as well. Like, so he's moved him a few times last year up to the half forward, half back line as well. So Sean Mulkerns. So that's another option you can see him putting there with Malloy. Young Pat Egan is another guy there for gives you a bit of a height advantage there, that kind of way. So with the break stuff like that, but I see Kelly now being there, and really, yeah, what you see there, I love to see Daly there, big time like everyone else. But again, since Daly won't give us much information what's going on there on the Mountbellew side, how he's not giving much away there, how the injury thing is going. Are you into so? We'll probably go. I see what you see that half back line there being probably near enough to what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd love to see a half-back line of Daly, Kelly, and McHugh if all fit. I
Yeah.
think the
Absolutely,
Neuras,
yeah.
John would be a big asset there at six. If we're coming to midfield, this is the one where it's probably just impossible, as we mentioned, to pick. John Mayer's obviously one there, but then obviously we come to the options. Does Paul Conroy play there? Does Matthew Tierney play there? Does Keane Darcy there? Preferably, I'd like to see Matthew Tierney and John Mayer continue this partnership for a second game in a row and see how it goes. How would you see? Obviously, Enda, you mentioned that there probably hasn't been a consistent partner with Maher there, but if you had to pick someone, who would it be?
Well,
Sorry.
personally, sorry, into there. Go on.
No, sorry, my Wi-Fi is tired after the long day here, so it was just frozen there. I know you're on about midfielder John Maher. If he's fit, obviously starts. I think it would be Paul Conroy, just purely from obviously his ability, without a doubt, but just from the experience as well. And I think that would be huge. I touched briefly on the 2 pointers earlier on. Like that's again a rule that's made for Paul. He's absolutely got that in his locker as well. So I I don't think that long term. Obviously, it isn't with Paul and his age and all of that. But I'd love to see Keane Hearn in there in long term. I think that'd be a great position for him in the future. But look, we're only talking about 2 weeks time. I think it'll be John Maher fit and Paul Conroy.
Personally, I can't see Conroy in there. I think if you're going based on the last games, again, and you kind of feel kind of embarrassed to kind of say, you mean, because he's like, you're talking player of the year and what he's achieved and the 2 pointers. I found he struggled when it was actually, in all fairness, he was put under pressure with you because we're expecting 2 pointers off him. And with the new arc, they're pushing up more, stopping the 2 pointers against you, the opposition, where before that, with the rules last year, it was more defensive and sitting back. John Maher surely to be there. Matthew Tierney, I find, plays his better football in centre half forward and with McDade. We spoke about Cook as well earlier on. If Cook was fit, I'd love to see him there because I think he gives that strength and ability and his fitness levels there. But based on what I'm seeing, I could see Matthew Tierney and John Maher there. I cannot see, especially against Roscommon. I think he came on that day against Kerry. So unless I can see probably looking after Conroy. I don't see Porrick trying to slog him this early. So I can see Matthew Tierney and John Maher if he's fit. But if Maher's not fit, we could be in trouble there in that scenario. So I see Tierney and Maher. Cook maybe later on in the year.
Yeah, I know you've both kind of mentioned Conroy there. I'd love to see Conroy in the 11 position push forward under the new rules and even be able to swap him inside, move him inside more. I'd love to see him in that more advanced position alongside, at this stage now, Matthew Thompson and probably Killy McDade. That would be my half forward line. On the half forward line there, Enda, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think we talked about Matthew earlier. I think or Matthew Thompson earlier. I think he gave himself enough reason to be picked the next day. Killian as well, and I think Daniel O'Flaherty did nothing wrong the last day. I don't think that's his position, but I think Galway have a kind of an excess nearly of wing backs. I think that's where Daniel is probably more suited to. But you know he gives a lot going forward even from the half forward line. So I think that'll be the same.
How,
Um,
how do you see
I don't
the
know. You see, we're talking. We missed out on Shea Welch. Like I could see him out there, and maybe instead of O'Flaherty. Like I mean, I think Thompson could get the run, McDade, but is he able to start? We don't know with Shane. We need him starting. I think at this stage. But again, we don't know how serious the injury is. Was he held back because the Astro? But if he's fit, I'd love to see him on that half forward line. You know what I mean? Taking the ball at pace and taking them on. That's what I love to see. So myself would be Thompson, McDade, and Shane Welch in there.
Yeah, obviously Keen Darcy as well could easily push in there into that half forward line as well. On your point about Shane there, Sean, I think it's hard to not see the All Ireland full forward line of Finnerty, Comer, Walsh.
Really, I just find that he doesn't play his best football in there in the corner. I find that because he comes roaming out and he kind of gets lost. I like to see him on the half forward line, maybe as I say, on that scenario where we and leave a bit of space in there for the likes of Finnerty and Damien Comer and that scenario, like you know. So it's kind of a hard one to pull on it like that scenario. But we know Finnerty's going to be in the corner there, and I love to see Damien Comer being fit, and I just loved when you saw the game, the high ball going in and the hassle he was causing for the Dubs. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant because and leave him in there. I find that when himself and Shea on the same line that it doesn't work. I think Shane is because he wants more of the ball. So it's kind of I don't know what I have him in there. Like I mean, I thought Liam O'Connell did very well himself in there as well. It gives you another option in there. We spoke about Darcy coming out. So it all depends on the system that PJ wants to play. Myself personally, I would have Finnerty, Comer, and probably the likes of what I call Liam O'Connell in there, kind of leaping around, or Darcy in there, probably based on my team. I'd have Darcy in there and coming out again on the half forward line.
How would you see that full forward line, Enda?
Yeah, look at the ideal scenario is, I know this is all very hypothetical, but the ideal scenario is Finnerty, Homer, I think, and Shane. Um, I don't think that will line out. It's a difficult one, to be honest. That's the hardest line, I think, at the minute to pick. I think Rob Finnerty is probably just about doing enough to stay there. I don't think that will change. I think he needs to be more clinical. He's got loads of ability, but I think he just needs to back himself more. Full forward, I'm going to struggle with this one. I think Finian Alai will probably hold if we don't have, let's just say if we don't have a Damien or Shane, it'll probably be Finian Alai, and I think maybe Keen Darcy could be in there, and just they'll rotate around and move around. It's the hardest line for me to pick, to be honest, in this. If we're taking Shane and Damien out of it. So yeah, that's kind of where I go, and probably Keen Darcy, maybe Finian Alai. I think Damien we saw the impact he had against Dublin, and I think that's maybe what he will be for the early parts of this championship, is an impact until he gets the lungs and the legs 100% for a full game.
We've mentioned obviously the challenger Roscommon, and it's just a question that came in from a listener, Gavin O'Reilly. Who would you expect to mount Ben O'Carroll in this Connacht semi-final? That's the question that's come in there.
I would say Johnny McGrath, I would imagine. I think he's 100% well up for that, and I think it's going to be a tough one either way. I think Ben O'Carroll didn't have a good league final, and it's not good when a corner forward is kind of he was marked out of it. And things didn't go for him, and when your man, the cornerback, gets man of the match, I'd say it's even harder. So I think he's going to be well fired up. I think he had a good enough game against London, so he's going to be one of their real go-to men, and I think Johnny McGrath is for me anyway, the guy for
I
that.
agree with Enda. Johnny McGrath is you know what I mean, if you're going talking man markers, it's McGrath or Silk, but I suppose with injuries like that, Silk you're talking Johnny McGrath, full stop. Like, you know, he's the man that's going to take that job.
Just finally, lads, obviously Becca Ross coming up next, and we'll be back again next week with a preview on the pod of that. But the Galway under-20s lost last week to Sligo 2-9 to 2-8. Lost the previous week to Mayo narrowly in Tuam in a enthralling game of football. They've beaten Leitrim in the first round, but they're under real pressure now Wednesday night. They need to get a result, and it has to be a win against Roscommon tomorrow night at 6:30 in Tuam Stadium. Sean, it's probably disappointing in one aspect of where they currently are at the minute because we all probably had a bit of hope and expectation with this team, especially this year, because given 3 years ago, this is the minor team that would have won the All Ireland.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen a lot of their games this year now. So I could probably good to talk about them. All right, I've seen all the Chan matches as well with Don. Disappointing to watch. I find that they're a team with such ability, such talent, and they signed to this. They have improved themselves. We I suppose after the Leitrim match, we thought, oh, this is it. Listen, Leitrim were very poor, and it's shown the last two games. They're getting hammered by everybody. So the Leitrim was a bit of false hope. With Mayo in Tuam, we played very well, but we showed a lot of frailty in areas around the back. We have serious problems in midfield. We're not like McGlinchey is a huge loss with injury. You can see there we're not winning the possession that we should be winning around the middle of the field. As well, we're not getting the scores. We're not putting up big scores at all. Sligo game was very, very disappointing. Sligo could have beaten us by more. Now again, the pitch was very bad, sand-based. It was like playing, and it reminds me of playing down in the Silver Strand. It was that bad with the sand coming up. Now again, I think that probably suited Sligo more, slowed the pace down. But again, we're getting seriously punished by a lot of mistakes, and mistakes by the wrong option, the wrong decision making, and really we're getting punished badly for it. Like, and that's the thing about it. We're in a situation now. We have to beat Roscommon. A Roscommon team that put up a big score before, have a good team. Like in all fairness, was beating Mayo up to the last 5-10 minutes. Mayo just kind of pulled it out of the hat at the latter parts. So really, it's a scenario where who bet, I think if I'm not mistaken, bet this Sligo team that bet us by 8 points. So there's a lot of pressure on Jan, the boys at this moment in time, because it was a team that was expected to do better. But if you look back in history, that was a team that got beaten by Mayo twice and Leitrim in the Connacht to get to an All-Ireland final. Only played their better football when they got out there. I'm just kind of looking at hoping. I'm hoping that we bring in the kind of, and that seems to be what he's done now, Sabo. He's kind of picked nearly the same team again that played Mayo, kind of in a scenario where he's kind of sticking with those guys, hoping that they won't be as bad and play a bit better. Hopefully these guys pay him I suppose the backing he's given them, that they kind of produce the performance we know they're capable of. But we're struggling around the kind of middle diamond, that scenario. We're not getting the big scores we should be getting, and I think that will happen against Leitrim. But it's one we need to win, because underage Galway, we looked at the minors there, we look at under 20s, we've been struggling for the last couple of years, and I have my own thoughts and stuff like that, which I won't share with you at the moment. I have ideas myself where a lot of the problems are
Why
lying.
not, Sean?
No, a bit earlier today. I don't think no. Bit earlier today, maybe another program. I take up 2 or 3, but there is problems there, and I'll just mention North v West, and that'd be enough. I won't go for today, but it's a scenario that we need to look at, because we're not getting the success based on the systems that's being used at the moment. So, but listen, it's a good team there. There's a good panel there. There's a good group of players. There's a good sideline there, and I think maybe just need a bit of luck. You know what I mean? And that's what they need. And hopefully, it's funny, we're not playing well. Roscommon are coming into this game, and don't forget now, this will be our 4th game in a row where Roscommon had a bit of a break. So I'd hope that they know that they get the result we deserve against Roscommon, and that all of a sudden then that they gives them at least a 2-week break then for a semi-final, hopefully, and get another rattle at Mayo, who most probably top the group. But as I say, we're not playing great. It's kind of they're struggling in a scenario where they haven't come out of their shell properly, and they're not producing the performance we know they can play, because there's some serious talent there, so hopefully it does happen.
And you've obviously been involved at this grade at under 20 level. It's obviously a demanding competition, this round robin series with the Connacht Championship. We see Sligo with that win over Galway now came back into it, so there's 4 teams really competitive. But what do you think? Obviously, last year was a good campaign when you consider getting to the Connacht final. It came up short against Roscommon, but why do you think Galway have struggled in this competition early on?
Firstly, I thought we'd get through a full hour without North v West being mentioned. I'm sorry now I didn't say that the Roscommon game should have been moved to Tuam Stadium earlier, but anyways,
Now you
Um,
have.
now I have. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's a difficult one. Look at yeah, I've some experience obviously at this grade coaching, and years ago we were calling out for this kind of round robin opportunity rather than knockout, and we have it now, and I think it's so positive for this grade for 17s and 20s to have that opportunity to line out more than once and represent your county. It's a hard one. Look, I think Sean talked there a little bit about the expectation, and I think this team maybe has been a little bit smothered by that. That there is that expectation amongst them. We know how talented they are. They just haven't seemed to be able to get just a bit of a run. And the Leitrim game, you thought, okay, that might kickstart them, and that was a great start. But I think what they've struggled with is decision making. Particularly against Sligo, I think some just bad decisions made, at crucial points in that game. And that can feed a bit of negativity into the group then, and that they're doing the wrong things, and it's difficult at that age group to kind of rescue situations like that because they're young. These are under 20s obviously, and it's the experience isn't there, so you're really just kind of throwing them out with a lot of hope in their own ability, and plus the bit of coaching you put in and whatever structure you can put in. But it really is, backs to the wall situation tomorrow night for them. And I would hope that that's where, we'll see their true kind of metal come out, because it really is going to have to. And, I think none of them will want to go into it. I think there's a secondary competition, Paul, after this,
Yeah,
if I'm
B
wrong.
Championship if they're to lose tomorrow night, they go
Yeah,
into.
and look, they're not. Galway team just isn't going to want to be in that, and no disrespect to it, but that's not where Galway underage teams should be. And we can be arrogant as much as we want to over that, but I think we'd all agree. But it's hard to pinpoint. I haven't seen the games, and I'll be honest with that. So it's difficult for me to comment, having not actually seen them, but knowing the talent that's there, and Sean has alluded to it, and obviously has seen more than I have. I think they just need to get a bit of momentum, and they need a good start tomorrow and make the right decisions, at crucial times, which I feel, like I say, I feel has kind of let them down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think there's any point in saying otherwise. It would be a disaster to go into a B competition here.
No, well put there, Paul. No, Enda's right. Listen, Galway, this B competition wasn't made for Galway. They made for the weaker teams, the Leitrim's and stuff like that. I was going to say Sligo, but they gave us a bit of a run. But it's what I'm seeing, and you've hit the nail there into its confidence and the decision making, and we mustn't forget these are young men of 18 and 19 years of age, and so easily, I suppose. How would I say, Coach Rising Star, where things are going great, and we had a false start in the Leitrim game, the Star, where I think we were put up on a pedestal there, and then all of a sudden we played a serious, strong Mayo team, who we mustn't forget, this team bet in All Ireland final, who were expected to win, so they had a bit bee in their bonnet, but we were as good as them that day in Tuam, and it was maybe again wrong decision making, and just at the end. We let it go a bit, where Mayo seemed to be on the day a bit more wiser and cuter, and they found the weaknesses in certain areas, and they kind of, as I say, endorsed that. And then Sligo was, I suppose, again a pressure cooker where we were expected to win, and just nothing went right for us in the scenario where areas we were beaten and stuff like that. And again, maybe not as much impact where we thought the guys coming in certain teams. So it's just one of those things there, but there's a serious strong talent there in that panel, and I just hope that tomorrow clicks for them on the Wednesday, because they deserve to go further, and they're like a team if they get a bit of momentum and a bit of belief, because there's a good bond there that they can actually go a bit far in this competition. And Galway and Porrick and the next generation, we need these guys, simple as that, because Galway needs these footballers, because we need the next generation, where we see the Mayo and these guys doing it, and Roscommon have been doing it. So we need that, because it hasn't been good for the last couple of years, and it's on the media there, especially the minors and under 20. So I just hope this is a bit of a turn, and that's what happens, it's important, because Galway football needs strong underage.
Yeah, and in fairness, the Miners had a great win there. Friday night down in Sligo in Tubbercurry GA, they got their second win, as the Roscommon are actually already through to the minor final. There, Galway play Mayo in the last round robin game. They have a bye this weekend, but just on the scores there at the weekend, Barry Keating, who bore more Mary, kicked 10 points in the victory over Sligo. 1-1 for Milltown's Dara Costello, Keane Hines with 2 points, Kieran O'Donnell with 2 points, and Owen Newell with 2 points. So a great win and an important win too to get it this minor grade Enda, because it was a difficult enough minor campaign for Galway last year.
Yeah, it was, and it's look, it can be cyclical, these under 17s and you know these underage grades. Again, it's you know Sean touched on it there. It's building for the future, and you know you'd hear people talking just you know in general, and it's all about winning, all about success. And for me, and you know, okay, a part of underage teams that did have success, so and didn't. So I've seen both sides of it, but and so much of this is about development, and I think we can't lose sight of that. That these you know these guys are in under 17 and under 20 squads because there's obviously potential in them, and you know they're seen as the future, and Sean touched on that there. And I think number one, that's what we have to really look at is, are we developing footballers in the right way that they can go from 17 to 20, from 20 to senior? And for me, that's ultimately what that's about. It's absolutely great to be winning Connacht and All Irelands if you can get them, but it's how many of these players can we show them what intercounty football is like? Can we show them the structures that are there, what they need to be doing, you know, on and off the pitch, social lives, you know, their mind, their body, all this kind of stuff. And that's so much more than just winning a match. And there's so much more that goes into it. And these underage squad management, 17s and the 20s led by Derek, you know, that I feel would be very much the foundation of what they're trying to do as well. So you know that's kind of the ethos I think that is there and should be there. That you know people should not get too caught up, and it can be some you know they can be quite critical of 17-year-olds you know going out representing the county. You know they're going to make mistakes and they're going to be playing with you know very little experience. You know these 17-year-old guys, if you know mistakes are going to be made. So I think we need to encourage the development side of it for sure. First and foremost, and you know, like you say, they've made a good start of their campaign in the 17s, and hopefully that continues. But I think ultimately it's what we can produce from this 17 for the grade next year for 20s and so on.
That is a really good point, and that's an important point too, that these are obviously players that we're looking to develop, Sean, and get as many as we can into the senior setup, but obviously not all of them are going to play senior for Galway either.
No, and listen, we're not stupid in that scenario. Like, and I don't know, I suppose, I mean, so long around at this stage, I suppose I'm looking at all systems and what goes on. And Inda's probably more experienced in the coaching side of the underage development. And trust me, as supporters, we only see the final game. We don't see the sessions, the drills, the trials, and what goes with it. And when you get 250 young gentlemen or ladies, because the same there, you're trying to pick what's there and what's the scenario like, and it could be a bad day for some, and some other clubs are way stronger than other clubs and have two or three teams. So there's a huge kind of difference in what goes on too long ago where systems were there. But it's a scenario where we're kind of how do I say, we're our own worst enemy because of how successful we've been over the years, and we're seen to show success. And there's a question there, and Enda would know this probably better than I would. Like, I mean, there's a question there is, why do we lose so many of these great players underage after we're minor? We lose a lot of these guys at 18, 19 and 20, and they don't talk about going on playing county or senior. They leave their clubs, you know, that kind of way. And it's maybe there's a thing to be looked at there. Why is this happening? Personally, myself, I think we're putting too much emphasis on the underage, under 14, 15, 16 development squads, where it's such a huge commitment on these young gentlemen and ladies, and kind of I think we're taking the fun out of it regarding, at the end of the day, I think we're kind of taking it's a sport, it's an amateur sport, and it's an honor to wear your county jersey, but it's not life or death. And I think maybe there's too much emphasis on the scenario where the SNC and you must be here and you must be there, where you've seen great talented footballers and they kind of, well, Jesus, I'm not I don't have my S&C to this level and stuff like that. But again, that's not everyone for everyone. But I just think it's very important that we understand. And I see other counties doing that. I've seen what happens in Dublin and stuff like that regarding looking up to see that maybe we need to look at a scenario where how like when things are going great, everything's fine. When things don't go great, there's a problem somewhere, and we try to find an answer. But I think it's very important that we understand that these young gentlemen and ladies are playing underage development squad, that it's enjoyable, it's competitive, that they make friends for life, and that's the most important thing. Always think there that you're not just playing with your own club members. And I'll say this, and I'll go north versus west. It should be mixed more, and I'm putting that out there. It should be mixed more over this side and that side, and more centralized in the city, stuff like that. But I think we're a bit too much pushed north, and that's been because of facilities, and that's nothing to do with where you're from, because at the end of the day, Lough George is where Lough George is. And but we saw there during Christmas, I know the under-20s were training down in Glenamaddy, and to go from Connemara to Glenamaddy is 3.5 hours to train to go through the city. So if you like, that'd be like someone from Mountbellew going down to Cork, that kind of way. So it's kind of it's a thing, logistics. But then again, they can't be playing wherever pitch is available, and Glenamaddy was a 4G pitch. So I think we need to look to the future, make it more centralized, more areas around the county that kind of for all pitch developments, and bring it more area that it's not one side suffering to the other. So it's just something I've signed that, I'll be honest with you, and you brought up the North versus West, and feck you for that, excuse the language, but it's a huge commitment to be a West player playing county. And I'll say it because of logistics. It's simple as that. Like, I went through that years ago, leaving work at 4 o'clock to be training in Tuam for 7. Where if you're on the north side there, and this is nothing North versus West is 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you're there. Then like you're home at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. So you're talking 5 hours traveling by car, which is not seen. So to me, that is like training from someone in Galway City. You'd be in Galway from Galway City, in Dublin from Galway City in an hour and 45 minutes by the motorway. You wouldn't be in Tuam for 2 hours from Carrow. So it's something I see where it's for a player, if I was even someone young, minor especially, because you need your parents to drive them. You understand that? And Enda would see that, where you got parents going to Lough George, leaving here, the village of Carrow, to be in Lough George for 7:30. They need to leave here at 5. What are you doing? And then you have 2 hours or 2.5 hours waiting in Lough George. What are you going to do in Galway City on a Tuesday, Thursday? And you're not back to 11 or 12. So 5 to 12 is a serious commitment for a young child doing junior cert or something like that. So reason I'm saying it's not fair in the scenario where logistics, but that's life. Same in Cork, North Cork, West Cork, stuff like that. So it's kind of a scenario where we need another pitch on the West for training facilities, for underage development squads, stuff like that. Because I'm being honest with you regarding, if I was a young lad at 16, 17 and parent, I'd be saying it's not worth it. Because, as I say, when you have a young lad there traveling 2.5 hours to a training session, you're going to be wrecked. Simple as that, and expected to do that. So it's hard. It's hard. And I think that's the reason, if you look the latter years, if you look at the monopoly of percentages, it's gone down big time west to north. I'd say you're probably talking 3-1 players and county panels. And a lot of it has got to do with just logistics of it all. It's just a huge commitment. So, and Enda would know this, if you had to come to Carrow or Spittle to train 3 nights a week, you'd be casting yourself the question, Jesus, is it worth it? And
oh, yeah.
And and hands up to anyone that's doing it, unbelievable, because they really are seriously committed. And again, this is nothing to do with the county board or north or south. It's just the way it lies. And I know, because I used to be training in Ballinasloe when there's no motorway, leaving work at 4:30 to be training at 7, getting home at 1 in the morning. But I was lucky. It was a great team. We got success. Not every team can do that, Now you asked for that, Paul. Now you got it.
No, it's a good point, and it does show the big commitment that particularly players in the West do have to go through. You'll be catching up in the Connacht final, the 2000 team being honoured. Both of you just praying that it's not going to be a Mayo Roscommon final.
If it is, we won't see it anyway in the class, to tell you. No, it's a great honour. I was looking off there, and we got the 98 team together, and it's just a scenario where, and again, I haven't seen Enda for the last time I saw it was on the sideline Enda a couple of years ago like that. And it's just, you kind of lose touch with players and time, and it's scary. It's 25 years again for that, and it's, I suppose, the only sad point and I know I'll be speaking for us, is that the legend that was John O'Mahony will not be there himself, but he will be there in spirit with us, and it's a great time and opportunity for us, like I mean, to meet up again because we haven't met since the funeral, and I suppose talk about good times, and great times and friends, and that's it. What it's all about, like in friendship, and it's great to be able to come together, not on a sad occasion, but a celebration occasion. But hopefully, and please God, it's a Galway team that'll be in the final, and we'll be able to support them.
Be a nice moment, Enda, to get to catch up with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean mentioned there's a lot of guys I certainly haven't seen probably even since then, 25 years, you wouldn't be in the same room as them. So it's great to be given the opportunity to get back into a group again. It was interesting actually the commentary on the New York game the last night that were talking about the last goal New York scored was 25 years ago, and I was kind of scratching my head. That sounds familiar. And then you mentioned Michael Slowey, who I actually know, played for New York and scored that goal. And I think it was the one opportunity I would have had to travel with the Galway team to New York, but they decided to play it in Tuam Stadium. So Tuam is a bit of a curse as well, But yeah, look at it. Joking aside, Sean touched on John O'Mahony there, and you see legends for the likes of Mick O'Dwyer passing there recently. We've so much to be thankful in GAA for the influences that you can have on your sporting career, but also on your life. And 25 years ago playing under John O'Mahony, was a huge honor. And wasn't so honored when he says you weren't needed anymore. But then when you look back, you think, look, that's what management had to do, and you respect him completely and totally. And yeah, he'll be sorely missed. But yeah, it's a good opportunity for all of that era to get back together and cheer on a Galway Connacht final win. Hopefully, that's the main thing.
It's funny, Paul, because the thing which is strange is when you're playing, you're still playing. You don't. It's only in the latter years when you're old and wrinkly and old and feeling pains like me at the moment is that it's a great kind of you kind of rest and think back on those great times we had, like as a I forgot about that actually, right? It was in Tuam. I think Sean got sent off in that game actually, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those games, but it's great. Like it's a year that as well, like at the same year I think we kept Sligo scoreless at half there, and we nearly kept Leitrim, and it was a great team and a great bond, and it was kind of the next step on from the 98, and there was changes done that time as well, like so it's going to be great. And again, I always give thumbs up to the county boards and the Connacht Council for making this opportunity, because it's very important, because I suppose we're at teams where we're probably not close enough in the center the way we should be, because we're probably sick of each other by the time we retired. We didn't want to see each other ever again. It's a funny thing to say, but it's a great opportunity to get back together again and swear reminiscent and catch up and see family members as well. So it's nice, and very thankful of the county board for giving this opportunity.
Great stuff. That'll be a great occasion to look forward to, and that's all we do have time for on this evening's show. Thanks to Enda and Sean for coming on.